Some of you may remember Charles. Charles was a caller to the show some time back. He'll remember when. We'll ask him in a moment. And Charles at the time was the fry cook, short order cook at the Waffle House. And what caught my attention, because I get a lot of emails, was that Charles mentioned Jonathan Kim. And Jonathan Kim runs Gringos. That's how Russell is able to travel the world watching Depeche Mode, U2, and all these things and live this awesome life because he's created a great culture at his company. And 20-something years ago, he hired this guy who was, I think, at most a manager, maybe not even a manager, at Vera Paredes. And Jonathan sort of rose through the ranks and now is the president of the operation. And I, just for fun on Saturdays and Sundays, I will call him 10 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what are you doing? I'm out at the Tomball location checking the construction. Where are you going from there? I'm going to go out to Conroe. And then where are you going from there? I'm going down to Sugar Land. So he visits all the stores constantly. And he does it on Saturday. He does it on Sunday. Used to, he would get up on Sunday morning and play golf, which was his one indulgence for the week. And then he would, in his golf clothes, then go and visit all the locations. They have over 20 locations. I mean, it takes a while. They're all spread out in the suburbs. Anyway, so this guy Charles sends me an email, and he says, "Oh, by the way, we talk about you sometimes every morning at the Waffle House because I'm the short order cook here, and Jonathan Kim comes in every morning, and he eats something like 10 eggs and this, and this. So he's got my wife on this darn thing because she's on the she needs more protein kick. And so I told her, well, Jonathan eats 10 eggs every morning. And she said, so tell me about that. What's the what does it do to you? What is it? How do you feel afterwards? And so she can't eat 10 eggs. She's 110 pounds, but she eats probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 now. And she swears it's made a world of difference for her. But anyway, Charles had a story. He was living in his vehicle. He was estranged from the mother of his child. He loves his child and just wants to be active in his child's life. He worked these long hours. Well, things took a turn for the worse after that, and Charles has emailed me regularly since then, and so I feel like I'm going through it. And we had a recent break in the case, and it's not a good development. And I thought, you know what? There's probably some folks out there, and ladies, I'm not beating up on you. I'm not. I don't want you to think I am, because I think in most of the time when there's a breakup, the woman gets the short shrift, and she got to take. There's a lot of dads that don't even stay involved in the life of the child when there's a split, and the courts have now largely recognized that for many years that was the case. So, if you're that dad who is actually trying to be involved in your kid's life and do the right thing and see your kid on the regular. These are the guys that get short shrift because the system assumes that everybody's as bad as some guys are. So the good guy gets the presumption against him, and it makes it very, very difficult for him. Very difficult. And that's not right. That's not justice. So Charles had something happen to him that I thought he should probably share with you. Welcome to the program, Charles. Charles?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was checking my phone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right. So I brought us up to where we are so that we get this in. I think it's important for people to understand that as they were figuring out child support, Charles would pay for his child, and the mother of his child, correct me if I'm wrong, tries to keep the child from him, and that's just tearing him up. He lives for this child. The guy was living out of his vehicle to try to make all this work. He moved up to Livingston to make all this work. Well, he takes another job, 40 hours a week, so he's working 80 hours a week was it Waffle House and Denny's? What was the 2 locations you were working?
No, so originally it was the Waffle House and the Pizza Hut down there in LaPorte, and that was when I was sleeping in the car after the separation. It's a really long story, but our separation involved me losing my job up here in Livingston, where I was staying my residence. And then to survive, I moved back down there where family was in the South Houston area, started taking up work down there. couldn't get a place to live down there because one full-time job I didn't make enough income. Ended up getting a second job just to qualify for a place to live. And at that point, I had to go into court. We show up, and the court bases the child support off whole income. So they go and they base my obligation off of 80 hours a week, which, is pretty daunting. Fast forward a couple of months, I'm completely exhausted. I had one morning I got up to go to the bathroom, and the only thing I remember after that is I was on the ground looking at the base of the toilet with a bunch of blood coming out of my head. I was so exhausted that I either fell and hit a ledge, or I'm not really sure what happened that morning.
As a general rule,
said,
if you fall in the bathroom, you don't want blood coming out of either head. It's not ending well.
No, it's not. But I ended up leaving a job because of that, and the issue is that it's not exactly an easy process to go in there and get your obligation amended whenever you lose income. And I was just trying to survive at that point for about a year and a half, and I worked on getting into a higher paying position. Waffle House stepped up and they paid me several more dollars an hour, put me overnight, and that
how
was
how much did they take you up to?
I was making 16 something an hour.
Okay, and before that?
It was like 12.
And they gave you the pay increase because you were willing to work overnights?
Working overnights and another raise for a position change.
What was the position change?
Basically, you take these cooking tests, and if you can meet expectations, you go from the grill operator to the master grill operator, and you can go from the master grill operator to the rock star grill operator. It's just like their little, little fun position terms.
Do
and
people
everything.
have to address you differently at that point?
No, but
like, you know how all the cooking shows now, these stupid chef, what do I do here, chef? It's the most annoying thing ever. Hold on just a second, Charles.
The Michael Berry Show. And Shirt Tails, each sold separately.
Charles, they bumped you up above 16. Do they give benefits at Waffle House?
No, they actually are really good to their employees. Other than the, me being a fat person, I like the employee meals. But there's some numbers you can call if you ever need assistance with, like, mental health or legal issues. They'll help get you to, like, a discount lawyer. They do several things for the employees, and not everybody knows about it because you have to go back and read the boards, and people don't really go and read. But yeah, they
on the
and
test
have
to
a
be a
medical
rock
program.
star chef. Like, what would be one of the things they would ask you on that?
So they're basically going to dump you off by yourself on a Sunday morning when you have a full house, and you just have to keep everything going by yourself.
So if they dump you off because, some guy got in a fight right before you, or he got arrested and they hauled him out of there, and you've got a restaurant full of people at the Waffle House, and they're all hungover, or some of them still drunk, and there might at any point be an outbreak or a mob or whatever else. What is the first thing? Do you like put out 40 eggs and start? I mean, what do you do? Walk me through that check down list.
There's a whole like pattern. You start with your meats. Typically, I just fill the whole grill up with bacon and some sausage just to get it going, and you just get all your eggs going. You want to be in the rhythm of, like, having your eggs pre-cracked in the bowl so you don't have to waste time cracking them. You might as well go and just drop all your waffles and get all the irons going at the same time, because, you're going to need it, And so it's just, you try to keep everything going as fast as possible at that point. Keep all your toasters going, and you don't sit there and wait for them to call out what you need. You just start making it ahead of time, just to try to get the plates out as quickly as possible.
Okay,
but
so
that's my opinion. They disagree with it.
That's okay. I only want your opinion. So you roll out these eggs. How many eggs do you roll out on the griddle at one time?
Well, we could have like 6 pans going at the same time.
And how many per pan?
2 or 3. So you're talking about 12 to 18 eggs.
And how long does that egg cook?
Ooh, well, it just depends. If we're talking about a light egg with a hot pan, I can get some over easy eggs out in about 45 seconds, maybe.
But you're doing other stuff in between when you crack them and when you come back to it.
Right. So you throw it on the fire and then you turn to your right and you run down to go put toast down or drop a waffle, or you go to your left to go grab some more meat and throw it on the grill or take something off. And out of the corner of your eye, you're trying to keep an eye on the eggs so you don't burn it.
Charles, I'm not trying to puff you up, okay? This isn't incoming fire from the Taliban every direction and mortars and IEDs, but this is emergency room triage, because we've all cooked. And, you know, if I cook for me, my wife, and my 2 kids, I make an absolute mess. Everything is burned. It's not that it's that hard to perform the tasks you're performing. It's keeping your cool, knowing that I have to do A, then B, then C, then back to A, then B, then back to A, then D, all in rapid succession while people are waiting for their food and there are loud noises, and this has been going on for hours on end and you're tired. I mean, that's not nothing.
Well, right. Well, it's purely mechanical after you get it down. You just get into a rhythm, and you're just acting. You're not really thinking about it.
Okay, so you turn around, and what is the most common plate? Scrambled egg, 2 scrambled eggs, bacon, grits, toast?
Yeah, basically, well, hash browns. Grits are less common than hash browns.
I think hash browns are
stupid. Parts of the country.
I do. No, I'm dead serious. I'm not insulting you. I don't see a purpose in hash browns. I don't. It's the worst use of the product that I can. It's the worst form. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But anyway, y'all don't do grits?
What? Yeah, we have grits.
Oh, it's a side order. Okay. So do you kind of? All right. So you're pulling the tickets. It's not digital, right?
No, we don't have tickets. They're calling it to you. You're setting your plates. They tell you 3 orders of scrambled egg, three scrambled plates, and you're putting out 3 plates with a jelly packet on the bottom, and you're throwing some hash browns on the top, and that's your reminder right there. And if it's wheat toast, you flip your jelly packet upside down. If it's raisin toast, you're throwing an apple butter on there instead. And they have a whole marking system, so you don't have any screens. Obviously, you've been in a Waffle House before, and you just have that server yelling at you, telling you what they need, and you have to run down and dress your plates for it.
And is the waitress the expediter? Is she the one that's taking the plate and presenting it? Like there are things she's going to add that you're just putting the food out there. Are you putting? Remind me now. Are you putting the bacon, the egg, and the toast all on one plate, or are you sending out a plate of each?
Well, we have side plates for the bacon and all that, and then you have the bigger plate for the meal, which would be like the eggs, the toast, and then the hash browns or the grits.
On average, how many waitresses are there working a shift?
Probably about 3.
So you're keeping all of their orders separated?
Yeah, you just have it on the line.
That is a lot harder than you realize, Charles. That's a lot harder for the rest of us than you realize.
Brisket and Barry.
Letting it all hang out.
Going against the grain is what we do on The Michael Barry Show.
Charles?
Yes, sir.
So you were working 40 hours there and 40 hours at another job. She's kicked you out of the house. You're living in your truck. You're working 80 hours a week of a job that's already harder than most jobs. You're not exactly pushing paper. You're working yourself to a nub and resting by sleeping in your car. You're fat as all get out. You've got to be uncomfortable. Every inch of your body's got to be hurting. And they used those 80 hours and the money you were making off that, which, hold on, $16 an hour times 80. So you were making probably...
No.
You weren't making
I
16.
didn't start making the.
Okay.
No, I wasn't making 16 yet at that point.
So
It was $10 an hour at one and $12 an hour at the other.
Okay, so you were making $800-900 a week, taking home less than that, and they based that on
Right.
what your child support should be.
Right, correct.
And your point of that is twofold. Number one, I can't work 80 hours a week. That was to get myself out of my car and not be homeless anymore. And number two,
Right.
if I'm working 80 hours a week, I can't see my child who I'm paying child support for.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, and that's my main issue with it.
Yeah.
I ended
my
up
main
leaving
issue
Waffle
is
House.
you not getting a lawyer and negotiating a budget who could have said what I just said on your behalf, wearing a suit, which tends to convince judges, and did it pro se. But
Right.
we'll discuss that in a moment. You and I have had this conversation off air. So when are you back in court today?
No, it's going to be in a couple of days. I believe it's on Thursday.
Okay. What are they trying to
the
get you to
10th.
pay in child support?
Well, the letter that was sent to me, they want me to pay essentially $600 a month right now.
And what do you think is fair?
Well, the state law says 20% of your income post taxes, and right now I'm making $14 an hour, and I think you base that off of a full-time income at $14 an hour, we could come up with an amount that's fair, but I think that they should just limit it to not be more than 40 hours a week. I
Okay,
feel
but
bad
hold on
for
a
these
second.
guys
Hold
to
on a
get.
second, Charles. I'm just
Yes,
doing
sir.
some math in my head. You said $16 an hour, but now you say $14 an hour, and you're doing 40 hours a week, right?
That's right. Right.
Okay,
right.
so that's $560 a week times 4 weeks is $2,200, right?
Right. Then you take your taxes out, and then you figure. Whenever I do the taxes, I like to multiply the amount by 0.83, and then you take that amount and you multiply it by 0.2, and you would figure out your monthly obligation.
Okay, so let's do
But
0.83.
really-
Let's do 0.83 times
Mhm.
$2,400. So you've got about 2,000. Well, let's do round numbers. You got about 2,000, and so you think
Right.
you should pay $400.
Yeah, it should be right around 400. Right
And
now
you're
they're
saying-
asking for 6 right now.
Oh yeah, you probably
And,
weren't
that-
going to
that's
get to the
still-
level that you could have afforded a lawyer for a while,
Right.
even a
right.
strip center lawyer. So, are you
Right,
able
and
to see your
it-
child now? Is she allowing you visitation at all?
So there's been issue with that also. When I filed I actually filed to take her back into court. This was not on the child support issue, but this was on another issue in the household where my kid's living. The person she has living with her had gotten arrested for possession of a stolen firearm and drug paraphernalia. And a big thing from 3 years ago when we were in court, I was complaining about the guy having a substance abuse issue.
What's his
And,
substance?
well, what I know that I know that he smokes weed,
Yeah.
and I personally don't want that around my kid. He was 5 years old at the time.
Does she smoke weed?
No, I don't believe so.
Is the guy Mexican?
No, he's a white guy.
What's his first name? Is it Daryl?
Ray.
Is he a bad guy?
Well, I don't think he's a terrible guy.
Is he a felon?
I don't like that around my kid. No, she isn't.
No, is he?
No, he wasn't a felon. I imagine that's different now that he got arrested for felony possession of a stolen firearm.
And you called him in on that?
No, I didn't actually. He has seizures, and so he was driving her vehicle without a license, and their tags were out, and they got pulled over for that.
This isn't Bert Harvey,
And
is it?
then no, it's not.
Okay.
So he ended up getting, he was with a friend. The friend had a bag full of weed that was portioned out, and he had a hot gun on him. And so he gets pulled out of the car. They find the stolen firearm on him. They find his pipe. That's where the drug paraphernalia comes in. And then the other guy actually had ran, but then came back, and he had a backpack in the car full of marijuana. So it's a long story. Basically, the first time I went into court, the judge wouldn't even consider the substance abuse complaints that I had because there were no drug charges. And so whenever I found out that he was in court for that, I went and got a copy of the police report, went over it, and then I decided to file to go back into court to discuss these things. And at that point, she stopped letting me see my kid for about a month and a half, and it got really ugly between us again. She wasn't too happy.
Would it bother you less if he was a raging alcoholic?
Probably not.
So, Charles, I have to give you credit. You're one of these guys kind of in a Forrest Gump way, but you're one of these guys that just keeps plugging along. And I'm not saying you don't make terrible decisions on occasion, but you're lovable as all get out. And people that know you, like Jonathan Kim, tell me you're just charming as you can be. And I guarantee you Waffle House lives in fear that you're going to move away again because they just can't find people like you to do what you do. You're worth your weight in gold to them, and I think you're a big boy from what I've heard.
Well, that's the thing. I moved away from them back in September because my kid wanted me to be closer, and they don't have a Waffle House up here in the Livingston area. And I ended up moving back up here to Onalaska, which is just up 190 from Livingston.
Yeah.
So that I could be 4 minutes down the road from my kid. And I had gotten an office job out here, and that just wasn't really working out. I wasn't able to keep up my performance there, and so I ended up going to the new Denny's that they built out here, and that's where that $14 an hour is. So I'm trying to find another little part-time
Charles,
job.
are you
out
talking
here
to the
to
microphone?
just kinda
Because Ramon won't turn the volume up, and I don't want to have to change my setting because then everything else will be too loud. So I'm hoping I can get you to do it on your end. Do you have it up all the way?
I actually have.
Yeah.
I have my phone up to my ear.
Okay,
can you not hear me that well?
I can hear you better. Okay, so you told me that that like Waffle House, and this shocks me, that there are Denny's partisans and that they make fun of the waffle. It's like the Socias and the greasers.
Right. And now I'm working for a Denny's over here.
And so how is that different?
You have an actual computer screen with everything already listed on there.
Yeah.
And I really don't like it. I have to turn around to look at what I need to cook instead of just glancing down a line. Waffle House, in my opinion, is definitely easier because you get all of your plates set up, and I can just kind of peek over, and I know exactly what I need just by looking at the plates real quick. Whereas Denny's, it's kind of disorganized on the computer screen, and you're trying to count down tickets to figure out how many of each item you need, and it just takes longer.
If you drive to Louisiana on I-10, before you get into Orange, there's Highway 62 that runs perpendicular to the I-10 that you're on. And I grew up very close to that intersection right there. And when you're headed that way, so you're eastbound, so the northeast corner of that intersection of the highway, which is a flyover, and 62, which is the highway which takes you up East Texas, right there in that northeast corner, there's a place called Thad's. And inside Thad's, which is a gas station, that used to be my elementary school. They tore that elementary school down. And inside of Thad's is a Denny's. And when they built that Denny's, my parents were very excited because Denny's was their kind of place. And so you would pull up there, and there'd be all the 18-wheelers out in the parking lot, and there'd be the lizard, lot lizards. What? Yeah, the lot lizards all out there. And then a guy I went to school with, turns out he was a lot lizard, and that was all awkward because whatever. So anyway, I go there with my parents one time and my wife. And my wife's a good sport. She's never going to criticize anything. And we go in that Denny's, and it's been there for about 2 years at that point when I finally go. And we go in that Denny's, and it felt like it had been there for 60 years. But it's like a city pool in an urban environment. It's trashed the day, or a public housing project. It's trashed the day it opens. and it was really cold, which felt weird, and it was you're seated, which feels odd, and you're very far, and they got carpet on the floors, and the staff doesn't seem like they want to be there. And I just thought, how does this place survive? Whereas Waffle House, which is not nearly, Denny's tries to do things that make it seem nicer. Waffle House is like, here's the grill, and Charles is cooking. You can sit right next to him or a little bit further away on a melamine bent deal. We bought all the old Dairy Queen chairs, and your waitress is going to walk 10 steps to, and here's your menu. And I just go, I love it. How can it be that I love Waffle House and I won't be seen dead in a Denny's? Help me.
Well, Waffle House just owns it. We're not trying to hide the fact that maybe things are a little run down. Denny's. I've been through several different Denny's just to go eat, and some of them are pretty rough, Michael. They're rough, and you're right. They don't seem like they want to be there, because I guarantee you they don't want to be there. But that's where they are,
At
and
the Waffle
they probably
House?
can't find employment. No, the Denny's.
Oh,
Talking about the serve staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles,
so
did you ever go? Did you ever go to the Dutch Kettle on?
No, I haven't been there.
Oh, it's not there anymore. It's Gumbo Diner. It's a guy that took it over. He's done a great job with it. I like the guy, and I love their menu.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dutch Kettle was the last holdover. You would go in there, and there would be people smoking, and some of them were actually customers. Like your waitress would come over and she'd have a cigarette dangling. What can I get for you, darling? And she's moving and baby, what can I get you? And she turned to my wife, honey, what you want? And she was already pouring your coffee, and it was just it was so glorious. I miss that. They'll never open new places like that. I'm just glad I'm old enough to remember it. And there was the Dutch Kettle.
You never got.
Go ahead.
You never got any cigarette ashes in your coffee now, did you?
Yeah, who knows? It was an experience. That acrid smell. I love the acrid smell of smoke. That's what a diner should smell like. Charles, I wish you the best of luck, my man. Hang in there. Stay in touch.